Today on the Whole Person Podcast, we are going to be talking about what it means to become abundant, how to accelerate your livelihood and your finances and get out of bad debt. So today I get to talk to Dr. Keith Johnson, who is a world-renowned acclaimed speaker and confidence coach when it comes to transforming people's hearts and minds in the areas of finances. So today, I want to thank you, Dr. Keith Johnson, for coming on to the Whole Person Podcast. And we're even going to be talking about his book, Financial Fast Track. Dr. Keith, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, welcome. Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's such a joy to connect up with you here today. I'm going to tell you, this is going to be an exciting time together as we talk about a very, very important subject. I mean, Jesus obviously is the most important thing we could ever talk about, and he's the person we're trying to make famous. But other than Jesus, the second most important thing I believe that we need to talk about is money. And yet, in religious and spiritual circles, it's kind of like the elephant in the room, right?
Right.
And when it is talked about, it's usually talked about in a negative way, in a negative term. And so I'm really working hard in this season of my life to change how Christian believers think about money. And so I'm excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
You bet. You know, as Zig Ziglar said, the three most important things in life: God, oxygen, and money.
Yeah, that is so true. Well, my friend, listen, here's the hardcore fact, because, you know, the first question I guess God asked man was what? Where are you? You know, not because, you know, God lost Adam. It was because he wanted him to self-discover where he was at, because awareness is the beginning of transformation. And so many people who are spiritual, listen, you know, your salvation is guaranteed. There's three guarantees in the earth, right? God, our salvation through Christ, gravity, and gold, the three G's. Those are guaranteed. So money is a very important thing. And we have to ask ourselves, you're already in right position with God, but where are you in the money arena?
Yeah.
And here's what's happening, okay? The rich are getting richer. The poor are getting poorer. This is hardcore. This is what's really happening, my friend. And the middle class is disappearing.
Correct.
And here's where we're at. We are at a place where we have to make a decision on which way are we going to go. And the majority of the church are full of middle-class people. And sadly, I'm seeing more and more of those middle-class people move into poverty, because here's the challenge of today. Middle class is now becoming the new poor.
Yeah.
Because poor means to be without. And here's what statistics are showing us, my friend. Most middle-class people are short $2,000 to $5,000 per year to just live at middle class. This is not, you know, this is not trying to live a super duper wealthy life. This is just people trying to live in a basic 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. I got a van out front. I got a Toyota Camry to get to work in. And I want to live in a halfway decent neighborhood for my kids to go to school. This is not like, you know, over the top living. And the majority of middle-class people, they don't have enough. And here's what's happening. Because people aren't paying attention to the numbers. See, the difference between the rich and middle class and poor is the rich pay attention to the money.
Right.
The middle class and the poor, they don't pay attention to it because why? We've been taught, and religion fuels this thought, we've been taught that money's not important. So you start talking about money, most people say, oh, well, money's not the most important thing. It's like, well, it's kind of like saying, which one's important? Is it your arm important or is your leg important? It's like stupid argument, right? Which one's important? Is my eyes important or is my ears important? Why do I have to make that decision? Why can't it all be important? And that's really the big difference between Christians and Jews. You see, Christians have a hierarchy, like God is number one, but money's like number 27. and we see everything like on this scale, and money's on the bottom because we've been taught to fear it. We've been taught it's evil. We've been taught it doesn't mean much in this world. And so we devalue it. And whatever we don't keep our eye on, we become bad stewards of it. Because the very word steward means you're keeping an eye on the money. Now, the wealthy think it's very important, which, by the way, the majority of the wealth of the world is held in the hands of Jewish people. 80% of the wealth of the world. So why is it that we read the same Bible and 5 out of the top 10 billionaires on Forbes top 10 are Jews? And none of them are Christians. Read the same Bible, same stories, but we get different results. And the reason for that I found is that simply, we think it's not important. We don't pay attention to it. We're not looking at the numbers. And so therefore, middle class is not realizing, wow, I'm $2,000 to $5,000 short. So here's what they're doing, my brother. They're putting that money on the credit card.
Yeah.
It's like at the end of the year, it comes along and you're like, man, okay, hey, we made it through this year, but now this year I'm in the hole 2,000. Next year, now I'm 4,000. Now I'm 6,000. Now I'm 8,000. Now I'm 10,000. Oh, guess what I receive in the mail? I can refinance my home, man. This is the Lord answering prayer. I can take that $10,000 credit card. Now what do?
Pay it off. And then all of a sudden you go back into more debt because now you have a loan on your house and now you don't change your habits and you just continue to pay and live your life off of credit.
That's exactly right.
I'm a real estate agent, so I see this all the time where people I'm going to refinance my house. I'm like, don't do it.
Right.
Pay off my credit card. It's like, yeah, but you haven't changed your habits to live a life without using your credit card. So now you're going to go into double the debt. And people hate when I share that to them when it comes to real estate.
Absolutely. And what happens to them, and if you study this over a period of time, now we have people who've done this for 20 years, brother. I mean, Bible toting, Bible quoting, go to church, love God, good people. But now they owe as much on their home as what it's worth. They've gained nothing. They've made absolutely no progress whatsoever. And it saddens me to see what's going on. And it's like we're walking in this fog and not realizing, wait, we need a wake-up call.
Yeah.
We need a serious wake-up call. Now, for me, my friend, it's like I came to this point in my life where I devalued money. I thought it wasn't important. And basically, I focused 10 years of my life just in pursuit of understanding the Bible. I got a PhD in theology. I lived for God, was consumed with church, going to church, praying, doing all the stuff I need to do to grow my spiritual side. But here's what I found. You can be spiritually rich and financially poor, and you can also be financially rich but spiritually bankrupt.
Yeah.
And the Jews have a holistic view. When I started to study, well, wait a minute. Why do Jewish people have all this money? They love God. They're passionate about their spirituality. Why do they have love God? Why do they have and Christians don't? I started to realize it's the way they think. It's the way they think about money. And I started saying, well, man, I want that way of thinking. Because this way of thinking, basically, my friend landed me with $180,000 in credit card debt. I owed $20,000 more on my car than what it was worth. And top it all off, my wife and I lost everything. Huh?
Did you say car?
On a car. Yeah, I had a car. I owed $20,000.
That's dumb. Sorry, that's dumb.
Well, because I kept trading it in, and then they kept adding. Oh yeah, we can put this payment on it. Put that. We can take this and put that on, and you're short upside down here, but we got you a deal. And all of a sudden, it's like $20,000. And then my wife and I had to move out of my mother-in-law, out of my house, sell everything we had. We had to move into my mother-in-law's little 12 by 12 bedroom. I call it hell on earth. Life can't get any worse than live with a mother-in-law who doesn't like you. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's bad. It was the worst day of my life. And I wrote this book during that time called What You Call a Crisis, God Calls a Classroom. And it was during that year, I learned some things that totally shifted my life, turned my life around. And within 3 years, the first 3 years after starting to study from how Jews think, God brought a multimillionaire in my life and started to give me a new concept about money, about how the best way and the easiest way is the first thing he taught me. The best way, the easiest way, the wisest way to make money, young man, is to make it as fast as you can. I'm like, what? But you see, if you don't believe it can happen fast, guess what? Hey, you're never going to get strategies to be able to figure out how to get it fast. And part of what I share in my new book, Financial Fast Track, it's why I called it Fast Track, is I share the strategies on how I got out of this situation. And I had to change out of the old slow mentality, because like we've been taught, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take 40 years. I call it wealth in a wheelchair. It's going to take you forever.
Well, let's get into that. Let's get into the meat and potatoes here, because so many people are stuck in financial stress. And what's crazy is the number one subject in the Bible is finances. It is mentioned over 2,000 times in the Bible. And so for some reason, as Christians, we've disconnected. I think, like you said, religious spirit-wise, where we've, think money's bad, or that the church only wants money, therefore we have this negative idea of it. So specifically to the point, someone's in debt, they're drowning, they're not making enough money. What is the first step?
The first step is thinking right. Understanding that your thinking is what brought you to this point in your life. So if you're getting negative results, it's proof that you're thinking wrong. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So your outer world is simply evidence of something messed up in your inner world, right? And so money, and people get mad at me when I say this, but I'm going to say this. Money is nothing more than an external scorecard telling you how good you're doing at the internal game of life.
Hold on. Holy cow. That was so good. It was so good. Rewind it and say it again.
Money is simply the external scorecard telling you how good you're doing at the internal game of life. Man. And when I started to see that, I'm like, whoa, because think about this. The world pays you for adding value to it. So when you bring more value to the world rewards you with money. So if you solve big problems for the world will reward you with a big paycheck, with big rewards. If you help meet people's needs, right? You help meet people's needs, people will reward you for meeting their needs and helping them out in a bigger way. So the first step in getting out of financial stress is really coming to the point where you realize that you're wrong, that you got to change what you think about money and spirituality.
Yeah, I think too, what brings a person to that point, and correct me if I'm wrong, is pain. The pain has to be greater than the current situation. Sorry, I didn't say that. The pain has to be greater than the current situation that you're in, to the point where it's going to cause you to change. Because without that pain, you won't change. It's the same way with my health. You know, I drank soda for years and it started affecting me negatively. And it wasn't until I endured the pain of it that I had to physically make the change in order to have a healthier life.
Exactly. Pain is the greatest motivator. And that's what happened to me. I was in my mother-in-law's house. I was in pain, but something good happened to me because guess what? In hell, I realized I wanted to get out fast.
Yeah.
And so here's what happened. I'm looking for ways to get out fast. I'm not looking for ways that, some financial guru is going to tell me, well, getting wealthy is going to be a marathon and getting out of debt's going to take you forever, but you can do it. And now I want you to deny yourself of everything and don't want anything at all and shrink yourself down as small as you can get. I tried that for like 2 weeks, brother. It didn't work.
Is that it's so true, because back in 2008, my wife and I had one of our worst financial years we've ever had. We had 4 ER trips. We lost 2 vehicles, not due to repossession, but one broke down completely, and then the other one was in a car wreck. We lost a pregnancy. I mean, just one thing after another. And student loans, car payment, mortgage, etc. And here's something that God told me. He said, Evan, I want you to get out of debt. And this is going to contradict a lot of people's theology, what I'm about to say. But I felt like God told me to stop tithing. And I didn't understand it. I realized later now that when I was giving with bitterness and resentment, not a loving heart. And so that's what God wanted me to stop doing, because it was causing me to be more bitter. What happened is I took that money from tithe and I just started putting it towards paying off debt. Then I reallocated the more money that we were making, etc. So long story short, there was this idea that if we stay on this track, in 3 years, we can get out of the debt and we can potentially get a new vehicle. But we had no vehicle. We needed 2 vehicles. So how are we going to do it in 3 years? We need it now. And so I was met with this draw the line in the sand moment, where either I can choose to go into debt and relieve that pain, but still add more pressure financially, or I can obey God and not go into debt. And so when I drew that line in the sand, I looked at my wife, who wanted to get the loan at the time because it was the easy thing to do. I said, we will not do this. We borrowed a car for 6 months. And what ended up happening is when I drew the line in the sand, God started opening up opportunities that weren't there before, because I stuck to his word and his truth and what he spoke to me to do. And in 6 months, we paid off like $15,000 of debt and got another vehicle paid for in cash, which was like $11,000. And that would have taken us 3 years based off of where we started from, where we were mathematically doing it. So God opens opportunity when you submit to the process.
Yeah. And if I was in your life at that point, because for me, my experience was I realized that, because, $180,000 in credit card debt. I mean, that was 20 years ago. $180,000 was a lot more money back then.
That was almost like $500,000 then.
Yeah, you're right. And 39 credit cards we had.
Wow.
And so what I discovered, it wasn't like we just all of a sudden that just dropped on us. We had been trying, we'd been, listening to all the gurus and what they're trying to tell us, the Christian gurus and what they're trying to tell us. We signed up for the debt-free army. We did the whole Dave Ramsey, cut the credit card, and we did all that stuff. And here's what we found. The more we focused on debt, the more we got in it. And what I realized is that debt was not my problem.
Your focus.
Yeah. Because what you concentrate on magnifies.
Yeah.
What I needed to be concentrating on was not debt. I needed to be concentrating on income, on how can I take my income and maximize my income. See, it's like this. If I were in your life, I would show you like this. I'd say, listen, what if you're struggling, you lost your car, you're going through a lot of things. What if I just sent you $10,000 a month? Would that help you, Eamon?
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
old me would say.
Would debt be your problem if I just sent you a paycheck? I mean, I'm just gonna. I love you. You got the cross on the head. You got nice glasses. You're a good-looking guy. I just love you. I'm gonna send you $10,000 a month. Would your debt problems be gone?
No, because it's a habit. It's a mindset. So even with the extra $10,000 at that point in my life, I would find some way to dig myself a hole.
Yeah.
But if you sent it to me now, things would be different.
Right. But the issue is, would you be free of stress if I sent you $10,000 a month at that point? Would that have been said, wow.
Temporarily.
Right. So temporarily, if I sent you $10,000, not saying you wouldn't, you wouldn't go do some other dumb stuff because you hadn't changed your mind yet. Not saying that. But what I started to realize is that what I needed to focus on is how can I get more streams of income coming into my life, concentrate on income. If the law of concentration is true, what I concentrate on magnifies, gets bigger. And when I started concentrating on income, I was forcing my mind, my spirit to come up with ideas to generate more income versus focusing on how can I scrimp, how can I go smaller, how can I deny myself, which all of those things are energy reducing thought processes.
Yeah.
And what you need when you're facing a huge mountain is not energy draining thought processes. You need some fire. you need some energy. You got a mountain to climb here, man.
So step one was change your thinking. Step two is basically what you focus on, expand. So focus on income.
Right.
Step three. What's step three?
The third thing is build a business.
Build a business.
Build a business. You'll never get rich working for Pharaoh. And see, that's the thing I moved right into. I moved right into. I'm like, I'm thinking, and I'm like, well, I already at that point had a speaking business that was generating, like, it's why I was in such bad shape. I was generating like $25,000 to $30,000 a year. And my wife didn't work, right? And so that's why I got in such bad trouble. And I'm like, okay, I got this speaking business. It will bring me in $25,000 to $30,000 a year. That's not enough. And I start thinking, well, how can I build a business that I can generate more flow? And the first thing I started to do back in 2002 was I started the coaching industry. I started studying about coaching and consulting, and I started to build my skills in that area so that I could bring more value to the marketplace. So like I was already bringing value as a speaker. Then I said, okay, I'm going to build a coaching business. So I got to develop some skill set to add more value to the world. I started building that business, and that business produced 6 figures inside of about a year and a half. So I started to see things turn around. See, I'm down in the bottom of the barrel year 1. Then I'm finding other ways to make money. Then I start writing books. Then I start developing programs. Then I start developing a leadership school. And I start seeing all of these things as assets that are money generators in my life. And what happened is I built all these assets that brought me cash flow that just ate up all my bad debt. Mm. So I went from $180,000 in debt in 3 years, no credit card debt at all. Completely what I call bad debt free. That's the name of the book. It's not debt free, it's bad debt. And so that's a whole nother concept of understanding as you start building your wealth intelligence, you start understanding that there's a difference between bad debt and good debt. Bad debt is doing stuff like you and I did and going into debt for stuff that depreciates. Now, good debt is debt that you go into leverage for assets that produce cash flow in your life.
Right.
And that's a whole nother thing that we have not taught in the church. We've been taught that debt, period, is bad. And yet, this is the way billionaires build wealth. Billionaires have a mantra, and it's this: never use my money. And you would think, right? You're a billionaire. You can do whatever. No, I still don't use my money. And so, people who want to fight on that subject, all you got to do is drive down the road of your main strip of where all the modern businesses are. You drive past Lowe's, you drive past Home Depot, you drive past Chick-fil-A. We all love Chick-fil-A. all the main businesses on your main strip, they all have debt. All of those and they're all owned by multimillionaires. They all leverage somebody else's money to get cash flow coming into their life. They don't use their own money.
So let's say the person isn't there yet, okay? We're still in the process of getting out of debt. And what would be some of the advice that you'd give someone at the beginning stages of, you shift your mindset, okay? Now you focus on income. Then what would be the next step of survival?
Well, you got to build assets.
So how
That's kind of what we're talking about. A business is an asset.
Okay.
We built the way I did it, and I'm just sharing the way I did it. The way I did it was I like the point you made that you gotta get instructions from God. First of all, I think God has a strategy for every person. I don't think there's a one size fits all to getting out of debt and building wealth, because I think there's a lot of factors. And that's what makes me unique in the Christian market. And I'm going to be even, as I start sharing this even more, is that I give 6 different, what I call fast track attacks against bad debt. And it could be different for anybody, right? But the main thing is building assets to get cash flow coming in your life. Now, the way I did it is God told us to go into more debt. So like you said, like some people say, oh, God would never tell you to go into bad debt. Well, Oh, well, Jesus did say to lend to those who ask to borrow from you. Well, if it's wrong to lend, it must be also wrong to borrow. I mean, if it's wrong to borrow, it must be wrong to lend. If it's right to lend, it must be right to borrow. I hope I didn't confuse everybody on that one, but that's right. It doesn't make sense. Why is it like this big evil thing to borrow, but yet Jesus says if someone asks you, go ahead and do it? No, it's not wrong. As a matter of fact, even the prophet came to this lady. She's going to lose her sons. She said, "What do I do?" He said, "Go borrow a bunch of vessels." He basically said, "Go start a business. Yeah. Borrow a bunch of vessels. Don't borrow a little bit. Borrow a lot, as much as you can get. Get as many of them you can. Start your business. Go sell the oil. Borrow, build a business, sell the oil." And he says, "Pay off your debt." And so that's what we did. And that was the instructions I got. I go, what? And so my wife and I we borrowed $350,000 and bought a piece of real estate. I mean, we're already $180,000 in debt, and we go borrow again. And we borrowed $350,000. We fixed this house up, and then we flipped it. And that was the key. I mean, we started doing things outside of the box of the norm, but using other people's money to be able to do that. One of my friends, I taught him the same thing, and he had a small little business. And I said, man, what you need to do is you need to go buy somebody's business that's in your city, that's way bigger than you, but the guy is old. So there's a lot of older businessmen who are running businesses who are tired. They're wore out. They don't want to do it anymore, but they don't have anybody to turn it over to. Well, go offer to buy that person's business, because now you got a track record, and banks will give you money to get a loan, or you can work out a deal with that older guy who wants to retire, guarantee him a salary for the next 10 to 20 years of the business, and scale faster and get more asset money and cash flow flowing in your life to pay off your debt.
Yeah.
So these are kind of strategies that, you got to think outside the box today. You can't be in this little tiny box and thinking slow. It's going to take forever. That's one strategy. So go buy another business.
So for someone who doesn't have the ability to borrow another $300,000, what would be a good side hustle to start earning extra income while they're maintaining a job?
Great question, my friend. That's part of the Fast Track program that I talk about in my book. The quickest and fastest way to start building a business is actually with intellectual property, by becoming a speaker, by becoming an author, by becoming a thought leader, by building a coaching or a consulting business. Especially with Christians, you have a love for God and you have a love for people. And really, if you bring those two, plus bring your story about how you overcame something, you can make a great coach, great author, great speaker. And it's very little startup. You just got to get some education, get some training. And that's what I do right now. I'm training people on how to build those kind of businesses in what I call the thought leader industry. Awesome. So before we go, I just want to encourage everybody, anybody who joins. I enjoyed our time together immensely. And I want to encourage anybody who is part of your program. I'm sowing seed. In this season of my life, we just launched this new book, Financial Fast Track, How to Experience Abundance, Accelerate Results, and Eliminate Bad Debt. We're sowing this as a seed in the launch of this. So anybody in your crew who would like to get the book, they just need to go to financialfasttrack.com, financialfasttrack.com. They're down on the bottom of the screen. And all you pay is shipping and handling. It's $9. And we will ship that book out to you and bless you with that. And with that comes a free bonus gift called Fast Coaching Experience, where I take some time to really help you discover the number one break in your brain stopping you from really entering into the wealthy lifestyle that God has for you. And we give you access to my, what I call Wealth Tribe. It's my inner circle of people who I'm developing into kingdom millionaires. So this is the offer we have. And I love to connect with some of your other people. Love to be on your show again. I enjoy talking and dialoguing with you. And Godspeed to what you're doing, my brother.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon.
God bless you. Bye-bye now.
Take care.